Western civilization has been developing for over 2,000 years now. As they say, politics is downstream from culture, and culture is downstream from academia. So, understanding the philosophical history of the West can help shed light on where we are and how we got here. Here are the top 5 most influential philosophers in Western history in 5 minutes. I've also got a video summarizing the top 20 if you're feeling adventurous, with a link in the description below. Number 1. Socrates. While there were some prominent thinkers before Socrates, known as the pre-Socratics, Socrates is generally considered the father of philosophy, and many regard him as the father of Western civilization itself. Socrates was most famous for developing what is called the Socratic method, which involves engaging in a form of cooperative argumentation to draw out ideas and underlying presuppositions. Socrates was most concerned with ethical philosophy, and thought that wisdom was the highest virtue. 2 quotes that best describe him are, "The unexamined life is not worth living," and "I know that I know nothing." Socrates was skeptical of the Greek gods and conceived of the soul as distinct from the body. He was famously sentenced to death by the rulers of Athens for quote-unquote corrupting the youth with his teachings. Number 2. Plato. Plato was a student of Socrates and is really the reason we know anything about him. Plato recorded many of the philosophical conversations that Socrates had around Athens and compiled them into what are called dialogues, although it's debated how much of these dialogues reflect the historical Socrates versus Plato's own views. Plato is probably best known for his allegory of the cave, a story in which he depicts the physical world as just shadows of the true reality. The true reality is full of what he calls forms, which are essentially instantiations or archetypes of characteristics, such as beauty or justice. Physical objects participate in forms as they become more aligned with them, but are still simply shadows of the true reality. The study of inquiring of reality beyond the physical world became known as metaphysics. Plato also posited the idea of the good, which is the apex form. The good gives being and intelligibility to all other forms. Many see this as laying the groundwork for the West's eventual acceptance of monotheism. Number 3. Aristotle. Aristotle was a student of Plato. I don't know about you, but I feel like every college class I took, whether business or chemistry or philosophy, all started out the same way, with the professor explaining how Aristotle invented that subject. Aristotle was truly a Renaissance man, which is really saying something because he lived 1700 years before the Renaissance. Aristotle was much less theoretical than Plato. He took a more practical approach and contributed to numerous fields including politics, biology, physics, and psychology. Some of his most significant philosophical contributions were in logic, where he fleshed out formal rules, and ethics, where he proposed an ultimate end goal of happiness. He also had prominent contributions to metaphysics. Aristotle developed the idea of substance, which is what things fundamentally are, versus accidents, which are properties of substances. For example, your substance is a human being, but you have many accidents, such as your height and weight. Aristotle's most famous student was Alexander the Great. Number 4. Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant was born in present-day Russia and essentially never traveled outside his birth city. For hundreds of years, a battle had been raging in philosophy between empiricism, the idea that knowledge comes primarily from sensory experience, and rationalism, the idea that knowledge comes primarily from reason. Kant's most famous work, titled Critique of Pure Reason, sought to resolve the conflict. He demonstrated that we have built-in, rational ways of organizing what we see and feel, which means that knowledge can't just be from experience. However, he also emphasized that our knowledge starts with sensory data. Without it, we wouldn't have anything to think about. In this way, he showed that both experience and rationalization are important for knowing. Kant was also significant in moral philosophy, developing the idea of the categorical imperative. Essentially, in order to find out if an action is morally justified, ask yourself, what if everyone did this? If that would lead to bad outcomes, then it probably isn't the right choice for you to make in that situation. Number 5. Friedrich Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche was a German philosopher who fundamentally critiqued the foundations of Western morality, religion, and philosophy. He suggested that the primary drive in humans isn't survival or pleasure, but the assertion of power. He criticized Christianity for having a slave morality, which praises virtues like humility and kindness, rather than a master morality, which advocates virtues like strength and courage. He famously pronounced the death of God, referencing the decline of religious belief and the void this left in meaning and values. Nietzsche also introduced the concept of the Übermensch, advocating for the creation of personal virtues through strength and creativity. His idea that there are no facts, only interpretations, directly challenges the Enlightenment's emphasis on objective truth and reason, which significantly influenced postmodernism. So there you have it. Did I miss any? If so, who would you take out? Let me know in the comments below.